And the time has finally come, guys. The end of 2024. Let's put it to rest. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back today to wrap up 2020 officially. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end of 2024. A year that I will not be sad to see go, honestly. But there's a lot of good things in there, along with the not so fun. But hey, I continue to enjoy doing what I am doing here, and I'm going to talk about some of those things that made 2024 a good year in spite of some personal struggles. But hey, we are here today to talk about the books, right? So let's go ahead and dig into what did I read in 2024. I read 49 books, I read 1 short story collection, and I read 5 manga. So yes, those numbers are a little lower than usual. And I've kind of talked about that. I think I hit a few burnouts. I hit a big book hangover this year, and I think 55 books is the lowest I've done since like 2021, I think, or 2022, maybe 2020, I'm not sure. But I had some big books this year. I had a thing where I just tried out in different genres and things like that, and I just kind of like took a little bit of a chill route and said, I'm cool with reading like 3 or 4 books a month. And I still am. I'm never saying that I want to just like push it, but I like to get back up to that 5 books a month range. Get to about 60 books a year, I think, is kind of like the sweet spot for me here if I'm not reading any chonkers, which can happen from time to time. I did get Brandon Sanderson and Ken Follett right there at the end of the year, So I did get some chonkers in there. But yeah, I think that's something, a number I'd like to boost up a little bit in 2025. And that starts with, laying off of the social media, right? That's kind of the New Year's aspiration here. How about the most read authors for 2024? I have a handful here. But what convinced me about this list, that it was a pretty good reading year, is I really mix it up. There's not a ton of repeats on here. Now, Michael McDowell was my lead author. He had 6, and that's because Blackwater was 6 volumes. It's been kind of collected into one massive book now, but I read them in the individual volumes. I was doing like 1 book per month kind of thing, and it was just too good. I couldn't do that. I couldn't keep breaking it up. So I just kind of just like took off, and I think I read 3, 4, 5, and 6 all together. But yeah, so 6 from Michael McDowell. Blackwater was just awesome. 5 from Ichiro Oda. Oda Sensei, obviously that's One Piece. I read 5 manga volumes this year, and they were all from Oda Sensei. 4 by Peter McLean. That obviously was me making through the War for the Rose Throne, one of my favorite series that I did start and finish in 2024. Wonderful, wonderful series. And I look forward anxiously to whatever series he starts writing next, because I will be there on day 1. Stephen King, my favorite author of all time. Only got 3 on here this year. 1 was a new release. That was the short story collection. And obviously, You Like It Darker. And then I continued with the Into the Multiverse rereads. I did Black House. That was actually my first reading. And then Dreamcatcher, which was a reread. So I'll be pumping up the Stephen King again here in 2025, because I do need to start getting out some more Into the Multiverse stuff. And I've even blown through some of the Richard Bachman things at this point. Larry Correia, 3 books. That's all the first 3 books of Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. We'll be continuing with that here in 2025, probably finishing it in 2025 as the last book does come out here very, very soon. R. Scott Baker, just 2. Really 2.5, 2 3/4, because I read almost all of The Thousandfold Thought in December, but I didn't finish until January, so I count towards January. But yeah, just 2 for The Prince of Nothing there, and 2 from Zach Argyle, as that was the first 2 books of the Threadlight series. So not a lot of repeat authors there, and I never usually count authors I only have 2 books from on there, and the rest were all just single books. So I look back at 2024 and say, that was a year where I discovered a lot of new authors, a lot of them really in the horror genre as well, and that's very exciting for me going forward to pick up some new authors, some historical fiction authors I'd never read before, and some new series I'm going to be beginning or continuing with here in 2025. Talk about some of the most surprising things. Now, I already know I made a video about my biggest surprises, my biggest failures, things like that. So I don't want to just like kind of regurgitate that. But let's take a look here. I say, if you could give me like the absolute biggest surprises, there's no way I could have seen this coming at the beginning of the year, both in books and in life. I think the most surprising was that Shogun and Blackwater resonated with me so much. Shogun was one that I knew I wanted to read before the new FX adaptation came out. And I never expected that book to just kind of blow me away like it did. It was my book of the year. Blackwater was right there, right behind it. And Blackwater was one of those that I almost decided not to read this year, because I was reading the synopsis. I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be for me or not. It sounds like Walmart, Robert McCammon. It was my in contention all year long for my book of the year. And then really, just, not as much just that I enjoyed Prince of Nothing, but that I did Prince of Nothing, because that's one that I've been kicking down that can down the road for years since I started this channel. Every year it's on my it's a series that just didn't make it this year. It always seems like it falls in that department. And it took some very positive bullying from Philip and Joanna and iWizard and a patron called Slay, who really were really just so kind about why they think that series would really click from. They were right. Darkest Comes Before, amazing book. That's in conversation for one of my top 10 fantasy books ever. That's how good Darkest Comes Before was. So those were all just huge surprises. I guess you say a life surprise, which kind of ties into the channel, is getting the opportunity to moderate for several showings for Christopher Rocchio and Ryan Cahill when they came to Dallas, and then Christopher came here to the Woodlands, and I drove up and moderated for him there. That was something that's like, I had a feeling I'd probably be pretty good at moderating. I just never done it before, and it was really like a plan. They were just like, do you want to? I was like, sure, I can do it. I mean, you guys know I don't have any problems talking, but that was a lot of fun that they let me share the spotlight with them. I did my best to make sure that the spotlight stayed on them. But the thing that surprised me was like how many people knew who I was there. That was the real shocker. I had people there that were asking me to sign Ryan and Christopher's books. You know, it was really just a kind of a shell shock for me that many people were coming up and saying like how I'd been a positive influence. One kid told me I made him quit drinking and stuff. That's awesome. It's just, you hear about these positive impacts you make on people's lives when you're just talking about what books you want to read. That's awesome, man. It's just, as a creator, it's a wonderful, wonderful surprise, and definitely something I think would be my most surprising of 2024. Most shocking. I want to kind of go with shocking as opposed to like failures or disappointment or something like that. Stuff that like I'm stunned that these things did happen. That I thought Assassin's Fate was okay. It wasn't this amazing book that everyone else that loves Ronald Ellings always says it is. And I kind of sided with Andrew over at Andrew's Wizardly Reads and saying, yeah, Tawny Man should have been the end of the trilogy or the end of the series, or at least fits his story. And that surprised me because I read the first book in the Fits the Full trilogy, loved it, thought it was incredible, had all that dad shit I love in it. It's amazing. And then Assassin's Fate is kind of like, I kind of like the ending that Fitz had in Tawny Man, and you taking that away from him kind of just seems cruel, really. So, yeah, that was a huge shock because I thought for sure I was going to love it just as much as everybody else. I had people tell me they think it was going to be my favorite in the entire series. It's kind of in the middle. Wool, Hugh Howey. I love the Silo TV series, and I thought it would be a grand slam that I would love Wool, too. No. Show is doing that book better in every single way. And I think it's because Hugh Howey had a great idea. They're just expanding on it a lot more on that show and giving it time to breathe, whereas the book was very much, several novellas that were kind of shifted together, lack of a better word, shift, because book 2 is called Shift. So it just kind of, it never really had a real narrative focus that I could get on board with because it changed character point of view so much, and that really let me down. And then, of course, Mercy of the Gods, James S.A. Corey, because I was shocked that I did not like this book because they didn't make a single bad book in the Expanse. Like the book in the Expanse that calls the worst one was still pretty damn good. And so I thought for sure, okay, well, these two writing together, Daniel Haber and Ty Frank, they don't miss. I'm going to love Mercy of the Gods because they fixed that problem I have with sci-fi, and they make me care about the characters. And no, not so much. And that was just a major, major shock because I would have never, ever predicted that would not be one of my 10 favorite books of the year. It was really, really a shock to me. Some personal life things. It's not really shocking that I survived a hurricane. It was kind of interesting how they told us that the hurricane was coming to Corpus Christi, which is about 100+ miles to the west of us. And every time they kept updating the track of the hurricane, it kept getting close. And finally, by the time it made landfall, Houston, right in the middle of the path. But, hurricanes are nothing really new to us here in Houston. We hope we don't have the flooding. With Harvey in 2017, it was because it just kind of stayed over us for 3 days. And it was the flooding, much more so than just the actual hurricane or the storm surge or anything like that. So we did okay. Beryl wasn't so bad. We were one of the lucky ones. We only lost power for a day. So we were actually okay. But the shocking one was the tornado that we had. Because we don't have a lot of tornadoes here in Houston, guys. I mean, we're a city. We don't really have this problem. And one came out of nowhere while I was in my car and basically brushed up against me. It was really, really scary. Car went up on 2 wheels. It was one of those times where it was like, hey, I got to get right with God right now. And I say that's probably one of the most shocking things. One, that there was a tornado, and two, I survived it because of how just disgustingly close I was to it. And a lot of people are like, what were you doing in the car? I was like, well, no one knew that a tornado was kind of like hurricane. It's like, hey, yo, I'll be here this time next week. Get ready. Tornado is just like, surprise, bitch. You know, that's kind of what it did to me that day. And yeah, just thankful I'm here talking to you guys. And the biggest shock of the year, guys, for the channel and life in general is the channel getting hacked. Just complete shocker how that happened, just out of nowhere. I follow all these rules. I know not to do these things, and I should have been more careful. I'm not going to say I'm blameless in this. They're very good. That's what I'll say about this hacking group. They were very good because it wasn't just the usual, hey, they sent you a goofy link and you clicked on it like a dum-dum. They had me pretty fooled. And with what happened, it just, yeah, it was a huge shock. And, you know, just that 24-hour period where you're worried about your identity getting stolen. You know, I was like, the channel, that sucks, man, because I spent a lot of time on this. I can rebuild it. It sucked to start over, but I could rebuild it. It would be a long, slow process, but I could do it. It was like, if you get your identity stolen, that's a tough hole to dig yourself out of. So it was a very, very scary 24 plus hours there. I do think if I had any hair left, it would have been gone for sure. But yeah, that was the most shocking thing I think that happened to me in all of 2024. And I won't even make the jokes on April Fool's Day about this being a Bitcoin channel now, because I don't like to tempt fate. That's something that I will not mess with. Channel growth, obviously, due to the hack, not a very good year. And that's why I've kind of actually took those statistics out of my monthly wrap-ups, because I just felt like I was just whining about it. And I don't want to do that. It's one of those things, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I clearly fell out of the algorithm. When we had our last ℚ𝕦𝕣𝕚𝕤 meeting, I actually showed those gentlemen my graph of showing my engagement or the end of May where it happened to now, and it just never recovered. It's just been a really, really bad year for growth for that reason. So 20,001 new subscribers for the year. It's down. It's usually a lot higher than that, let's put it that way. 4.6 million views, 607,000 hours of watch time, and those are all red arrows down from 2023. Obviously, with all things due considered there. So hopefully the holiday, the end of the year content, you know, you do a lot of top 10s and things like that at the end of the year that can get many people looking back. But I look at that number, 20,001 subscribers. But the thing is like, when that hack happened, I lost like 2,000. And I don't know if those people ever came back, you know, because they were like, I ain't subscribed to a Bitcoin channel. What is this? And I've got so many people tell me, like, your videos don't show up on my feed anymore. You know, I never know unless I go to your channel and look at it. So, you know, hey, it sucks, but, you know, all you can do is keep on grinding and hope that the YouTube overlords will take mercy on you and put you back in the algorithm there. Let's do hope. How about some of my most popular content of 2024? Now, I uploaded 189 new videos, and I broadcast 15 live streams in 2024. That is a lot. Well over 200 uploads. So yeah, a good year for output. I'll pat myself on the back there and say consistency is key. And even with the struggles that the channel is having, I said I want to make sure that I stay consistent with these things. And obviously just I give you guys content because that's what you're here for. And I did do that to a satisfying level for myself this year. Top 10 fantasy series of all time. I'll do my top 5 here. That one, of course, is going to be my biggest one. It's my update. I said I was only going to do it every other year. 170,000 views this year. So clearly that's something that you guys are interested in. And I said I wasn't going to do that video every year because I don't feel like it changed enough. And so I'm not going to do it every other year if I haven't read enough new series, because I don't want to just keep putting out the same video for you guys. That's not the kind of content I want to make here. You can look at that video and say, yeah, that does mad business. But I don't want to make a video just for that reason. You know, if I don't have something new to say on my favorite fantasy series, there hasn't been big enough change, I don't think I need to update that list. But, you know, there was a new #1. There was several new series that popped in. Some old ones rolled off, and I wanted to kind of talk about why. And you guys apparently did appreciate me doing that. My top 10 sci-fi books of all time. This surprised me big time. 153,000 views. And why it surprises me is because so many people ask me, hey, well, why don't you do one of these for science fiction series? I said I haven't read enough series. But I said, look, I haven't read enough books, I guess. And it's going to be like very, very low number to pick from because I haven't read as much sci-fi as I have fantasy or even horror, guys. So it was one of those where I was like, look, I'll make it, but you know, it's just going to be a lot of you guys saying, how come you don't have this, or this on there? Because I haven't read them. I'm not as well versed in sci-fi as I am in fantasy. So, but I was happy with what I picked in the video, and it's gotten mostly good feedback, but a lot of it is just, hey, you got to read more sci-fi. And I know, I do. I do. And I think about it now, it's like there's a couple books I've read this year I'd probably be put on there, like Canticle for Leibowitz would probably get in there now. So it's one of those maybe I could revisit in the future once I've read some more science fiction. Top 10 dystopian and post-apocalyptic books of all time. You guys noticing a trend here? People love top 10s. That one has 54,000 views. And what's funny about that one is I remember recording that video and something happened and I was recording, we were having the kitchen installed and our power, like it blew out a breaker or something. So I had to record from my iPhone and the contrast was all jacked up. So the whole background was just like bright red, which I guess works fine for dystopian and post-apocalyptics, like a nuclear explosion on your eyes, But hey, that video, that's a fun topic to talk about because all those kind of books, I felt like people want to put them on science fiction. To me, yes, science fiction is spaceship and lasers and things like that, or messing with dinosaur DNA. So that's science fiction to me. Whereas post-apocalyptic stuff and dystopian, it kind of stands on its own as its own little subgenre there. So I didn't want to kind of wrap that into sci-fi. So that's why I made that video kind of like the counterpart. And people did seem to really appreciate that. And what I've learned from the comments of that video is more of you guys need to read Fahrenheit 451. Quite prophetic. I'm just going to put it right there. How about a not top 10 video? This is awesome. Pillars of the Earth. Ken Follett, that review got 49,000 views, which makes no sense. No sense at all because single book reviews don't really move the needle here anymore. And that one was really, really amazing about this. It got like 45,000 of those in like the first 2 days. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe I got put back in the algorithm. Maybe I popped up on Google search or something like that. Because you go into the analytics of it and you look at the and people are watching for like 3 minutes. It was really, really strange. So I don't know really what happened with that video. But hey, we got to count at 49,000 views. That's nothing to sneeze at. And that's a great book. It's a great book. And you can tell in that review, I did love it. And I could have talked about it a lot longer. And in fifth place, 48,000 views is no, not all the Dune sequels suck. Because when you go and you watch my Why You Should Read Dune, I talk about how much Dune has meant to my life. One of the big comments that I always get in there was, it's too bad that all the sequels sucked. And I was always like, I can see why people think that. It's very different than the first book. But no, there's redeeming qualities about the first 4 books, I do think. And it was just one of those, when the movies came out, when Dune Part 1 and then Dune Part 2 comes out, I got a lot more people showing up in those videos and saying similar things. So I just kind of wanted to talk about, no, I don't think all the Dune sequels suck. And I kind of talk about, this is what you're looking for? Yes, you think they're going to suck. But if you can accept this, this, and this, Children of Dune, Dune Messiah, they might click with you a little more. God Emperor, that's going to kind of depend on how philosophical you are. It's going to be kind of how out there you can be. How profound can things be found? It's one of those things where I just wanted to kind of talk about why I love The Golden Path, which is the first 4 books. Even 5 and 6 get a little out there for me. I wouldn't say they suck, but they get a little out there, and then they weren't completed by him. They were completed by his idiot kid. And in my opinion, they've just never been completed because I don't consider that canon. That's Disney Star Wars stuff to me there. Anyhow, that's a different topic altogether. So it's one of those where I do say at the beginning, if you're wanting me to defend the Brian Herbert stuff, you've come to the wrong place because that isn't what I was doing. Just this blanket statement that every book after Dune sucks it's wrong. It's incorrect. And I kind of wanted to talk about why I feel that way, and people did appreciate it. A couple of favorites that didn't get quite the numbers on here. Some favorites I had during the year. Doing a Why You Should Read for Stephen King. Obviously, that's one I put off for a long time because I felt like if you were watching this channel, you knew that I love Stephen King and I talk enough about why. But I thought, hey, maybe there's going to be people who are finding the channel for the first time, or maybe they are just looking for, hey, sell me on reading Stephen King. So I want to give that a dedicated video. Spent a long time making the reading introduction for that. It took me forever just to narrow down which quotes I wanted to get in like a minute and a half, because you're talking about a massive, massive bibliography. A guy who's got an incredible gift with the English language, and I'm trying to get these quotes down to fit a minute and a half of an reading introduction. It was tough, but I was happy with how it turned out, and I was quite satisfied with that actual video. And I hope you guys, if you haven't watched it yet and you are interested in reading Stephen King, you don't know if you want to, hopefully that video can sell you on doing it. Sticking with King, the You Like It Darker shared review I did with Jaime and Fuego over at the horror show. The thing was, before I even had a channel, I used to watch Jaime's Stephen King reviews. And I say that he was an influence on me of being like, look, I want to share my love for Stephen King. So my Into the Multiverse videos were 100% influenced by Jaime. So to be able to have a video on my channel on release day, talking with Jaime about these videos, this book was just, it was full circle for me. It was really, really cool. And Jaime is just the most awesome guy. I mean, like, his attitude is infectious. I love talking to him. That will always be my side. And I appreciate him taking the time for an hour and a half to talk about every single one of those stories in You Like It Darker. It was a ton of fun for me. And it kind of was like right after the channel got hacked, so it kind of lifted my spirits a little bit. I was really, really happy to have him on. And then one that I kind of piggybacked off of Library of Vikings video, Johan put out one about why are YouTubers quitting. And I kind of just want to kind of give my side of why I think that a lot of YouTubers and booktubers do quit. And really kind of give my side of how have I kept doing it for 5 years. What's kept me going through the peaks and valleys of what content creation can do to your whole mental being. And I just kind of wanted to kind of share those things and why I think that a lot of people quit, and a lot of it's just, they go into it thinking it's just going to be, I'm just going to press record and say something and press upload and then they're done. I mean, look, Brian Lee Durfee's really good at that. Very few others are, and it's a lot of work, and a lot of people put too much work into it at first, and they'll feel like if they aren't getting instant success, they don't want to keep going. So it's content creation, man, it's a grind, it's a drag. It is really, really rough sometimes to stay consistent. And I just kind of want to give some of my tips that I've had while doing it, some of my experiences, some of how I've handled some things, and also why I think a lot of people are quitting, and there's a lot of negativity out there. But I feel like as far as when you talk about the negative comments that YouTubers get, I feel like in the book community, it's a lot less than it is on every other medium out there. And that's why I will never, ever change and keep talking just about books, because that's something that I like to spread positivity, and I feel like I get lots of positivity in return when you talk about books versus like movies or music or video games, which is just nasty, or sports. Oh my God, you get the worst stuff when you talk about sports. How about some goals for 2025 now as we close down 2024? Look, I want to successfully complete a read-along again. I was thinking the other day, I can't remember the last time I actually hosted a read-along and it went well. It's either one of those things where everyone just reads ahead, everybody quits, or I quit. I mean, when I did one for Codex Alera and I quit in book 2, I felt so bad. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. I'm just going to let people know I'm reading this time. If you want to join me, you can. But we had such a positive reception to Rise of the Ranger. That's book 1 of the Echo Saga by Philip C. Quantrill, where I said, look, if you guys are interested, we'll just go ahead and read this first trilogy in January, February, March. And a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm definitely. So we are doing that. So jump on the Discord if you want to join that read along. And I'm pretty sure I'll be able to finish this trilogy because I'm really liking the first book. But I want to feel like I can actually complete one of these again. Continue to try new authors. That's something I did in 2024. And I feel much the better for it because, we can just kind of go back to our comfort foods all the time, instead of trying new things. And I want to make sure I continue to try new authors and find some new favorites and find some modern favorites as well. Not just always falling back on stuff from, the 1990s and before. I want to make sure I'm trying to be a little more recent here. And that's why I'm trying to get some of these new releases this year. And that's something big I want to do. I want to get some of these new releases in while they are new. When it's a standalone book, Mike, you don't have to read their entire bibliography before you can read a new release. And that's why I'm trying to focus on that. I'm going to read Stephen Graham Jones this year, a new release. I'm reading Grady Hendrix, Philip Fracassi, Ed Crocker. There's a lot of these books when they're hitting on release day, I'm wanting to be able to talk about it. Richard Swan's got one coming out next month. So I want to make sure I'm hitting these things when they're brand new. I want to try and collaborate with some new creators, or not necessarily just new, but maybe some ones that I just haven't collaborated with before. Like, I love everyone in the community that I've spoke with, and there's a lot of them that I was, every time they call me and say, hey, do you want to chat? Yes, absolutely, I'll be there. I'm not saying I don't want to do this anymore. I'm saying I do want to kind of reach out, grow that network, and connect with some new creators here, because I feel like this is a really great community, and there's lots of people I haven't even got a chance to interact with yet, and I would love to do that. Really, I guess just try to get in the good graces with the YouTube overlords again. I don't know if that's really possible, but obviously keep working towards it. It's a nice goal to have. But really, in the end, guys, I just want to continue. I feel like this channel does feel like it's welcoming to everyone, regardless of if you like to read, guys. That's the only requirement for you to come here. You don't have to have any beliefs or non-beliefs or whatever. It doesn't matter. To me, as long as you like to read, you're welcome here, and I want that to feel like a community for everyone. You're welcome if you like to read books. That's the only requirement, really. And really, I hope it's a better year personally, both mentally and physically for myself. 2024 is rough times, but I feel like 2025 it can only be better, you know, and I want to make sure I'm putting in a really good effort to make it a better year for myself and obviously for you guys, because that's why I'm here. I'm here to try to lift your spirits because you do lift mine. But guys, that was 2024, amazing year. Yeah, some personal struggles, obviously, but as far as the channel goes, I'm still having a blast, and I hope you guys are as well. So what were some of your biggest surprises and biggest shocks of 2024? I'd love to hear about it. What was a video I put out this year that you might have enjoyed more than some of the others? I'd love to hear these things. Maybe some videos you didn't like. That's okay. I'm perfectly fine with criticism here. That's how I continue to try and get better. So drop in the comments, guys, and let me know. I will talk to you there.